Hey, what is up guys, it's Cipher Hunt here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review on journal number 3, the official journal from the creators of Gravity Falls. Now, I know I don't usually do reviews of stuff I unbox, but I feel like this just needs to be talked about at least a little more in depth, because this book goes a little more in depth in terms of the series and whatnot. And I really like the attention to detail for the most part in this journal, you know, because in the series obviously we couldn't read most of these pages, they were just scribbles and whatnot, but here, you know, full-fledged we can read and whatnot, even if it is in cursive. I actually read this a few days ago. I finished it a few days ago, and I have to say this is a pretty good book, not only if you're a fan of Gravity Falls, but just mystery books in general. But I like the story that goes into this and how it feels like an actual journal. Like, well, I don't know if you guys can see it, but they actually have dates in this and whatnot and stuff like that. But let me just try and show you guys a few of these pages. And I like how it goes more in depth with Stanford as a character himself, because obviously he came in between season 2 and whatnot, in the middle of season 2, so we didn't get too much of him. I remember I did a theory video about it, and I said that I thought Stanley was a better twin, but upon reading this book, I actually have a little bit more like understanding as to why Stanford did what he did and whatnot when he came back, why he was so angry and whatnot. But even then, it just, I don't know, I just felt like he was still a little salty and whatnot. But there's actually a pretty decent reason, at least a better reason this time around, as to why he's so ticked off. I didn't really understand, like I understood, but it just didn't seem that justifiable in the series and whatnot. He just came back and he was already, you know, mad at him and whatnot, just for bringing him back. Like, he didn't even thank him or anything. He just seemed like a spoiled jerk and whatnot about it. But upon reading this, I could see why. But pretty much, there's a few questions that actually got answered. One of my questions throughout the series was, which came first, the portal or Bill and whatnot encountering his mind and stuff like that? Because remember in the he had two flashbacks actually in A Tale of Two Stands. He was pretty much going over like how he came to Gravity Falls, how he built the portal and whatnot. But I was wondering, like, who helped him first? Was it Bill or was it Philford with the portal and whatnot? But pretty much it was Bill. You know, he basically calls him my muse in this book for a majority of it, until, you know, the big reveal near the middle and whatnot. But basically, in the beginning, obviously, he just goes over the stuff he's seen throughout Gravity Falls. Hopefully you guys can read this, but yeah, all the monsters he's seen and whatnot. You know, pretty good detail actually. Looks just like in the show. It also has lots of secrets and codes in there too, for all you guys who do that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I don't do that stuff because I don't have time for it, but it is what it is. I really do like some of the jokes they say and whatnot. It's pretty funny. But I feel like this book, oh yeah, this page, if any of you guys can decipher this, please do. Please do. I just want to know what it all means, basically, all in code and whatnot. But if you're a fan of just mystery books in general, I feel like this book does a pretty good job of doing that. And also Mabel writes in this, Dipper writes in this, Seuss writes in it, but Seuss doesn't write in it too much. He only writes like one page and whatnot. And I saw a few of the comments that you guys were saying I kind of sound like Seuss. I mean, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or an insult or whatever, but I mean, I guess it's kind of funny. I never really saw myself sounding like him, but it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, basically it just goes over all the stuff we've seen basically throughout the show. You know, the truth-telling tease that we saw on the what was it, it was like that, not Halloween episode, not the Summerween episode, but the other one that had like all the little stories tied into it, into one episode. But basically, the main story of this book pretty much revolves around the author building this portal, trying to find this grand unified theory of weirdness, so that then he can actually be one of the smartest scientists alive, better than Tesla, better than Einstein, and all those other smart people in the world, basically. I do like how it feels kind of like an actual journal. Like, I don't know if it, well, it's not showing it now, but it does have dates in this book, you know, like July 21st or June 2nd or something, stuff like that. But yeah, this is it pretty much. He's trying to find the grand unified theory of weirdness, how Gravity Falls is weird, how everything is connected, and why is it connected to here. But there's still a few references in here, like the Plumbus from Rick and Morty, this guy from Rick and Morty, I'm not sure who he is. I mean, I watch Rick and Morty a little bit and whatnot, and it's pretty good, to be honest. I like it. It's a good show. It's really funny. But one question I always had throughout the series was, who came first? You know, Bill or Philford when he was making the portal and whatnot. Who helped him first? And basically, it was, you know, Bill and whatnot. He pretty much tells him, you know, there's a weirdness dimension, and you can obviously make a tear throughout it to get into our world and whatnot. And that's basically how the weirdness and stuff like that comes in through that dimension. But obviously it's a trick and whatnot. He pretty much tells them, you know, to build a portal so that then he can get his nightmare realm into their realm and pretty much take it over. But right here, you know, it says July 18th, July 20th, July 29th. It's just really good. But this page, like, I like how it goes into their mind, not mind like physically or whatnot, but it just like shows us what they're thinking when I describes what they're thinking, like his thoughts and whatnot. Basically, he's overjoyed that Philford came to help him with this project of his, trying to find this unified theory of weirdness. And I actually like the character development in this book. He has a little Rubik's Cube there, but over time, as time goes on, them fighting monsters, them finding all kinds of things and whatnot, he pretty much goes crazy over it, basically. Because in the series, I kind of felt like it was just that one event with the portal, but no, it was a couple of things that followed before that. But basically, just flipping through these pages, we can obviously see some of the monsters we've seen in the series. But I feel like you'd obviously get more enjoyment out of this if you saw the series itself. But I do like the character development between Philford and Stanford, especially in this page, you know, basically talking about, you know, what they'll do in the future, what their dreams are and whatnot. Something that we didn't really see them do in the series. We barely saw them bond in the series and whatnot. But at least we get to see it here now and whatnot. Basically showing the crash site. They went to the what episode was it? I believe it was, yeah, Dipper and Mabel versus the Future, when him and Dipper went to the spaceship and whatnot. Pretty much Philford and him go to the spaceship. They meet the Grim Goblin. And yeah, they have a pretty crazy encounter with this guy, one of the few that Philford was a part of, and pretty much that just leads on to his trauma and whatnot, but pretty much which leads him to create the memory gun and whatnot to try to forget all of those bad things that happened. His Rubik's Cube's all messed up, not fixed or anything like that. But yeah, they pretty much decide to take a break from all the investigating, go to the carnival, though it's not really that good. They're obviously all fake and whatnot, but pretty much he meets this palm reader and pretty much gives him this ring that well, you guys can read it there for yourself, hopefully. But yeah, it's pretty much foreshadowing stuff, basically. And this is obviously foreshadowing stuff as well. The who was that? Blind Ivan, I believe. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see the whole pages and whatnot. But a few things in this book that I don't understand is the I don't know, some of the stuff that I don't like is how they don't have the backlighting, you know, and especially because they talk about in the book like how well, we might get to that soon, but basically Stanford pretty much thinks that he should hide his secrets with the invisible ink, obviously, but there's no invisible ink, so it just seems kind of odd for them to have it. They even talk about the monocle and why he has it, and I like that about this book. It goes into detail with most of the stuff and whatnot, but there's no monocle here, so it just doesn't really make too much sense to talk about it. I felt like it would have added a bit more to the illusion, and kind of like how season 2 started when he found out that there was a backlight for a journal. It just led to a lot more different codes and secrets and whatnot. But another little question I had was, what came first, the bunker or the portal and whatnot? How did this start? When did they find the time to make this and whatnot? And basically they built most of the stuff before the portal, but and they were gonna finish it, but they got kind of sidetracked because some stuff happens. If we can find out. Cryogenic tubes. Yeah, the shapeshifter. But yeah, they went to a crazy encounter with the shapeshifter in this book. You You guys can read all that. Filford in the closet there, just like scared out of his mind. But yeah, this is when Bill helped him with his tasks and whatnot. But yeah, see, it has the little monocle right there and whatnot, but there's no monocle to the actual page. But oh well, to the actual book, the actual journal. But yeah, I like how it goes through. Like I like how it's all like pieced together and whatnot. The story itself, like it has all the stuff we saw in the show, all the pages and whatnot, but it's like pieced together in like this good, great story that we haven't even really seen before. The interaction with Filford and Stanford is just awesome in this book, especially on this page, because in the series they pretty much just glance over all the stuff they did before the portal and whatnot. They just kind of skipped over it and said the time has come to test it, but before they actually tested it, they got into a little bit of an argument at the diner, basically just going over the probability of failure of this experiment. Filford pretty much figured out, like, through calculations that, you know, some bad stuff could happen if this gets pulled off and whatnot, and pretty much Stanford wasn't listening, you know, a bit of argument, a bit of furthering of the plot, but basically Filford was right. And I don't know, like when I was watching the series, I always thought that Bill came in after he built the portal, because in the series, you know, after he built it and Filford left, basically he started hearing whispers, and this is basically what they're talking about. It was basically all the monsters, all his henchmen from the Nightmare Realm whispering. I thought it was Bill himself. I thought that's when Bill kind of possessed him and started making him do all kinds of crazy stuff, but no, it actually came back here. If you can get to it. Actually came all the way back here, but yeah, he's been with them basically since the beginning. Oh, start place. And we're back at it. But yeah, just lots of crazy stuff happened with Bill and him. Pretty much he called him his muse throughout the book, but this is when he finally reveals his name, Bill Cipher and whatnot. The page is all bleeding, bloody, messed up and whatnot, because his right eye was bleeding and whatnot. Oh yeah, there's a little, I don't know if you guys can see it, but right in the corner there, if you guys can tell, has a little bit of a mild curse word there. I mean, that's not the first time stuff like that happens, at least in kids cartoons, from what I've seen and whatnot, kids material, but it's still pretty cool to see, you know, nonetheless. But yeah, I just thought it's really crazy how, like, Bill just kind of messed him up after all of this. The Blind Eye Society pretty much saw those signs throughout town and whatnot. That's another thing that I don't understand, and something that kind of ticks me off about this book, is that it doesn't have the invisible ink. I know why. You know, it'd be really challenging and just almost impossible to have it, but if there's a way, I think they should have did it. You know, because pages like this, like where he talks about hiding his secrets and whatnot, invisible ink, when there's no invisible ink in the book, it just feels weird. You know, just kind of ruins the illusion and whatnot, at least in my opinion. But yeah, pretty much all the pretty much Bill starts seeing Bill all the time and whatnot. He's trying to stay awake, but he can't. And that's when he obviously calls Stanley and whatnot. I like how they have that little scene, basically, a little setup there before he calls Stanley, because in the series he kind of just said, like, he was losing his mind and whatnot, but it never actually went into depth with it. He just kind of said that, and then all of a sudden Stanley shows up. But pretty much, yeah, you can obviously tell he has like little Bill drawings on the sides and whatnot, but yeah, it's pretty crazy though. In terms of a mystery book, I mean, it's probably not the best, to be honest. It's not the best, but it's still decent, at least in my opinion. I think it's a pretty good read, even if you're not a fan of Gravity Falls. But obviously, this is when Dipper starts writing in it. I feel like basically Stanford and Dipper pretty much writing it for the majority of it. Mabel writes in it a little bit, but not too much. Seuss only gets one page to write in, but it is what it is. Pretty much they just go over, you know, all the stuff we saw in season 1 with the Gobblewonker and all the wax figures, blending, blanding, you know, all the little stuff that we saw in season 1, the wax figureheads and whatnot, the end credits, looking at all the different characters and whatnot, trying to give you guys a full look at these pages here. But oh yeah, the little backwards message and whatnot with the dogs and stuff, the smile dip, the clones from that episode, the printer machine, the president's key, though we never really used it for much. Kind of sucks, but even a few jokes here and there and whatnot, you know. And I like how it just goes into the characters, like it just like it's pretty much just Dipper writing and whatnot, you know, about his adventures in Gravity Falls. I think it's really good the way it's just written here and whatnot. Especially they've adapted their show into like a comic book or reboots and whatnot, but we're not going to talk about those reboots because they're pretty bad, to be honest. But shows like this that can like have, you know, you go on a worldwide, you know, treasure hunt essentially to find a statue of one of the main characters. It's pretty cool in my opinion. It keeps the fandom alive, it keeps the show going and whatnot, but unfortunately it's over, so we don't really have too much to look forward to other than nothing really. I mean, I saw there was a little toy of some sorts, a little statue of the Bill Cipher statue, not the actual statue itself obviously, just a small condensed mini version of it, but I still think it looks pretty cool. If I see it anywhere, I'll get it, do an unboxing video of that, at least on my channel. But other than that, there's nothing really to look forward to now. The show's officially gone, at least in terms of, you know, the creator of it and whatnot. And I don't know, like, it's a pretty short series, to be honest. It lasted like 2 seasons and whatnot, not too long. I kind of wish I had a 3rd season at least, because yeah, and this is when the author comes back. But pretty much yeah, and he talks about his events through the dimensions and whatnot. Well, before he starts talking about, you know, all the stuff that changed when he got back and whatnot. But basically, I don't know, like, I think it's really cool that they can keep the show going for as long as they did, you know. It's pretty cool. I really don't have too much else to say because there's not too much else to say. Just flipping through these pages here for you guys. Hopefully you guys can get a read on it. Hopefully you guys can look at it and whatnot. If you just pause a little bit. My journey into the nightmare realm. And that was crazy too. Like, we never really found this out in the series, but we're finding it out now, what he did through those 30 years and whatnot. It doesn't go over everything because that would take way too long, but he goes over a few things and whatnot throughout the throughout his journey, his story and whatnot of what happened and stuff. But basically, it wasn't easy. And this kind of justifies, probably not justified, but at least sheds a little bit more light on why Stanford was mad at Stanley for what he did for bringing him back. But even so, I still would have been ticked. Basically, I still wouldn't have been as ticked as he was. Sorry, but pretty much, you know, he visits all these different dimensions, you know, the 2-dimensional dimension, all these other places, basically the original place where, Bill was created. They actually have, well, I don't know if it's here or not. I think it was talked about earlier, or later. No. Wait. Oh, yeah, this is it. Yeah, the little... They actually talk about Bill a little bit in this page, so I'd recommend you guys read it. It's nothing too crazy, but it just kind of reminds me of, like, different things, you know, just... Well, not different things, but, like, different villains, basically. They pretty much talk about, like, how he, like, killed his family members and whatnot over his journey for power and whatnot and trying to be the best. And I just thought that was kind of crazy, especially for a character like Bill. Like, obviously, we know he's crazy and whatnot, but I don't know, I feel like that's just taking it a little too far. But basically, what happens is he goes through these different dimensions, you know, honing his skills, pretty much, getting different weapons to help him defeat Bill once and for all in in the mindscape essentially. But before he can do so, pretty much he gets pushed through the portal and whatnot, and pretty much his instincts take over, and he pretty much punches Stanley for it. I don't know, I thought that was kind of... I knew that something was going to happen while I was watching the series. Like, when the author came back, I knew something was going to go down. I knew he was going to be ticked off, but... I don't know, I just... Especially this attitude throughout the rest of the season. He didn't really say thank you or anything to him for what he did. He could have been dead this whole time, but his brother saved him out of the kindness of his heart, and he still was kind of mad. I mean, if I had the chance to beat Bill, like, right then and there, but then I got saved by my brother, I probably wouldn't be too angry. I'd be like, well, thanks, but, you know, we got some stuff to do. We can't let, you know, that dream demon into this world and whatnot, but I don't know. I just felt it was kind of stupid what he did. I'm pretty sure I passed it, but I know there's a page that referenced one of my favorite animated movies. Hang on, hang on. Trying to be careful here, don't want to mess anything up. Let's slip that through there so that then we don't lose our place. But it was in the Submarine Trickster. Actually, no, that's season 2. That's when we talk about, okay, Rumble McSkirmish. Oh, screen's dimming a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. Sorry about that too, by the way. I think it's a little after this, actually. Hang on. Keep going. Where is it? Here it is. Here it is. Here. At the very end. It says, can morph into body just like Mr. Faceless. From the anime movie, The Cranky Girl Who Did Chores in Spirit Town. Maybe watch that 80 times. I don't know, I thought that was a funny reference. Comment down below if you guys get the reference, but I'm pretty sure we all know what kind of movie he's talking about. Hopefully. If you guys didn't watch that, I'm not going to say you guys didn't have a childhood. I'm just saying you probably didn't have a great one if you haven't watched that movie. In my opinion, I think it's a pretty good movie. It's not the best, it's a movie, you know, they can't flesh out everything, but it is what it is. I like how they end this book, though. Like, throughout all the stuff that they went through, throughout all the journeys and whatnot, they still, like, tied up together pretty well. And also, if you guys were wondering, I know that I got tons of comments in the book. I mean, in the unboxing of this book, pretty much everyone was saying, oh, what's Dipper's real name? What is it and whatnot? But if you guys can't tell, right there in that little corner, it's Mason, guys. It's Mason. So, for any of you guys wondering, it's Mason. That's it. I mean, I can understand why you guys, you know, thought it was so important, but I mean, I don't feel like it's too important. That's basically what everybody was talking about, you know, what's his name, what happened and all that stuff, but I don't know. It's just not that really too big of a concern to me, at least in terms of everything else in this book, all the other secrets you can get, and everybody's over here obsessed over one little name, but basically this is pretty much during Weirdmageddon, obviously. Yeah, just flipping through these pages, guys. Sorry if this gang a little messed up. I had to record this a few more times, recording this in parts here. Camera can't handle all this quality and whatnot. But hopefully your phone can. Hopefully this gets uploaded decently at least. This is a pretty lengthy book. But yeah, I really do like this book. Even if it doesn't have the invisible ink or the monocle or anything like that, I feel like the storytelling and just the character development in this book, especially between these two, you know, their journey throughout Gravity Falls, you know, how everything went about and whatnot. How they even end this journal is just really good. It goes a little bit past the series itself, but this is basically how it ends, you know, them around the campfire, singing their campfire songs and stuff like that. Yeah, it basically ends with a bombless pit. I don't know, it's a nice ending, you know, as it should be, but yeah, it's basically my little flip through little review. If I had to rate this, I'd say it's probably a 9.9 out of 10, just because, you know, obviously the invisible ink and the monocle. But other than that, I think this book is a really solid read. I got it on Amazon for $30, but that's because I paid for one night or one day shipping and whatnot. But in terms of the quality of this book, I say it's really good. It's pretty hefty. Obviously, if you guys can't tell, it's about the same size as my hands. I don't know how else I can measure for you. I don't exactly have a measuring tape or anything like that. But in terms of the quality, if you take the dust cover off, it looks basically the same as it does in the show, honestly. All the tears and stuff like that, it's really good, really solid. But yeah, if you guys have this book, tell me what you guys think of it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think that's good? Do you think that's great? And all that other good stuff. But there's a reason why. Well, I don't know if I told you this already. Recorded this part so many times I kind of forgot. But if I didn't, let me just say that the reason why I recorded it today is because the Cipher Hunt has ended officially. And it's really crazy how shows like this can keep going. Like, we had to wait a couple months for this thing to come out. But before, right? I think the day it came out, actually, or the day before it came out, they pretty much, Alex Hirch went to Twitter and basically commented, posted a page and whatnot about the Bill Cipher Hunt. Everybody was kind of lost in the beginning. They didn't know where it could be. They thought it might be in California or in Russia or wherever. But basically, we got a lot of clues. We went through a lot of places and whatnot. But in the end, we ended up in, what was it, Reedsport, Oregon, which is where it's located. I thought it was pretty cool. And I like how they can keep the series alive with stuff like this. And, you know, the statue itself and what. Really cool what they did there, you know, in terms of keeping the show alive. Most shows don't go on for too long. Like, after it ends, you know, all they really have is the fan base, but they don't really have any other content to go off of. In terms of this channel, I feel like that's probably it. The only possible thing I could probably do in terms of Gravity Falls content is that little Bill Cipher statue. It's not the statue itself, obviously. I'm not going to go all the way out to Reedsport, Oregon to go and shake his hand or whatever, but there's this little statue I believe that's going to come out at the end of August. I'll do an unboxing video of that, but that's basically it for Gravity Falls. You know, no more content from it, no more shorts, no more episodes, no more nothing. But I like how they kept it alive for as long as they did. Most shows don't really go on for too long. I mean, sure, some shows get rebooted, some shows get made into not a cartoon, but a comic book. And that's great and all, it really is. It honestly is, especially that comic book idea. But reboots, I really wouldn't want to see a reboot of this show. I know it didn't last for too long, you know, 2 seasons and whatnot. But if you guys are a fan of mystery, of any kind of mystery, you know, whether it's Scooby-Doo or whatever, you know, I'd recommend giving this book a try, checking it out. I got it for $30 on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure it goes cheaper somewhere else. If you do free shipping on there, I'm pretty sure it's like $10 or so. It's not bad. You know, 288 pages of mysteries, character development, character interactions, all kinds of good stuff in this book. Really nice quality. I really recommend it. And give